Culture Committee to order at 2 minutes after 9, and we will all stand for blessing by Councilor Austin.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together around this table and help us to stay united as we go forward, working for the good of the Cherokee people and the Cherokee Nation, and protect those who are serving in our military here and overseas. And thank you, Lord, for the successful rescue of the soccer team in Thailand. In your name, amen.
Shelley, roll call, please.
Honey. Joe Baird.
Honey.
Bill Englund.
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Harley Bezer.
Here.
Sean Crittenden. Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dave Bell. Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Ani.
Leo Smith.
Here.
Janice Taylor.
Here.
Brian Warner.
Honey.
We do have a call.
Thank you. I ask for a motion for approval of the minutes from the May 31 session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Pass, thank you. And we will start our reports with Ms. Molly Jarvis from Cultural Tourism. Always good to have Molly here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll just touch on the highlights from our report that was submitted. On the Capitol building here downtown Tahlequah, we are continuing the work on the interior renovation, and then the exhibit fabrication is currently being bid out. So we should have that information in the next couple weeks, with the expectation to complete and open this museum spring 2019. We had a successful, though it was rainy, Peace Pavilion opening. So that structure is up and ready for use now, and we think it'll be a great addition to downtown. On our cultural pathway, we're still working through some design elements on that, and we hope to complete the design in the next probably couple months for that, and then we'll submit for approval of funding. And then on the Saline Courthouse, we have completed the bid for the interior renovation on that project, but we're asked to go ahead and go back and add an additional caretaker home and find out what the expenses for that would be. So we're in the process of doing that, and we'll take that to our board cultural committee later this month. So in hopes that we can have someone there full-time for oversight of that property before any improvements are made there. Retail, we are preparing for a Cherokee National Holiday. We have the shirts in the store, so they're ready for sale. In addition to the Remember the Removal Rider shirts that we sell, and give the proceeds from those shirts back to the riders. And then the holiday shirt that the Cherokee Phoenix also has to offer, we have that in the store as well. For our museum promotions, we have a brand new exhibit up in the Supreme Court, and it ties in with the Peace Pavilion opening. So it's an exhibit dedicated to the 1843 Peace Indian Council meeting that was held. So if you have a chance, go by and see that. It's up and gives a really good overview of what happened in 1843, and kind of you can see out the window directly to the Peace Pavilion and tie that in together. And then opening just a couple days, we have a post-statehood exhibit at the prison. Then I wanted to touch on, we've had for the last couple of years, every Wednesday at noon in downtown here, the Stories on the Square, where a storyteller or one of our tour guides like Janelle Adair or another storyteller comes in and gives a free, it's free to open to the public, very family-oriented event. Do some storytelling, but then we also have a make and take activity associated with that, where they go into the museum and make something. And we've hit a high number of that with 160 people attending those Stories on the Square events. So that's really exciting. Other than that, since I was here last time, our West to East tour took place and was very successful. And I think that concludes my report, unless there are any questions for me.
Thank you, Molly. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Crittenden.
Molly, on the caregiver's house, can you kind of explain what that would be and who who would get to live in the house there?
Well, we don't know yet who would, hopefully we would hire someone as a full-time employee who would be a caretaker for the site. We have a similar model at the Sequoia's Cabin site where there was already a caretaker home, and we do have a full-time employee at that site now.
So whoever's gonna live in the house should be full-time employee at that place?
That's the way it is right now at the Sequoia's Cabin. We have a management agreement established and a contract with that employee to live there. So I would assume that we would follow that same model for Celine.
So the Sequoia house, I've had some questions about, the process of who lives there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it intended for somebody to be there on site all the time, on call?
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is there's 3 employees there,
That's correct.
2 that are there full-time, and 1 that goes back and forth to the Heritage Center. Am I?
No, they're all full-time at Sequoia's Cabin.
So one of them don't work at the Heritage Center sometimes?
Nope.
They're all 3 full-time at Sequoia?
Yes, sir.
Have we got any day workers down there to help?
No, we did have a day worker and she transitioned to a full-time employee. So we don't have any day workers there currently.
Plans to do that?
We haven't had a need for it right now.
Well,
We've got 3
I'm
full-time.
hearing different.
Okay.
I'm hearing they need some help, and I'm also hearing that unless something's changed recently, that there's really 2 full-time and 1 that bounces back and forth and it's not always there.
Okay. We have a former Heritage Center employee who's there, and then they were on temporary at the Heritage Center, but they've been on full-time with us since we opened that site.
That's not the understanding that I have, and I've been
Okay.
visiting with folks pretty regular, and I know Brian's been visiting with them and different ones, but there's a whole lot of caretaking to be caretaked, I
Yes.
guess you'd say. A lot of mowing, and what I understand, there'll be somebody at the register and this guy taking care of all of that. And if there's someone missing, it falls on one person to take care of that. So what I understand is they at least need a day worker or 2 to help, and I'd like you to follow up on the house situation. If for sure the person living in that house is going to be full-time there.
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay, and you might double check that, because unless I'm in the twilight zone, that's not what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, ma'am. Just to shed some more light on this, too, and thank you, Molly. I've talked to Chuck Garrett about some of this, and they have a guy that they're looking at hiring to put over a lot of these, like the Saline Courthouse and some of this stuff. And he assured me that some of the things that Sean's talking about will be addressed. Just to give you a little bit of background on Sequoia's Cabin, 2 people ran that place for years when the state ran it. You had a curator, Mr. Dobbs, and then you had Mr. Allen, longtime resident, family from Nycut. Joe knows him. He lived there in that house for 20-something years. And I think the problem, and a lot of this can be worked out, but he lived there, and in the summer, we all know, if you're on an hourly wage and you're working from, say, 9 to 2, you're not going to get everything done that Mr. Allen did, because I would go out there sometimes maybe and he might be mowing 9 at night because he lived there on the grounds. So but Chuck Garrett assured me, this was just last week, that they had a guy that they were going to put over all these different, and they were looking at some different things that Councilor Crittenden and I had brought up and stuff, and so just FYI. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Buzzer.
Molly, you mentioned, and I didn't catch all that about the entrance at Saline Courthouse. Which entrance are you talking about? The one that's now being used or the old entrance?
And I'm not sure what the reference to the entrance is, but we'll continue to use the one that's being used now.
Okay. What about the old bridge that was before? Is that gonna be a pedestrian bridge or?
Yes, I think it will continue to be pedestrian only. So, no reference Travis there for that, but yes.
Okay, right now, we have a person out there now, right?
So Celine is still being overseen by the Cherokee Nation under the facilities group here with Bruce.
Oh, it is?
Bruce
Oh,
Davis.
okay.
Mhm. So yes, there is a person who opens the gate daily, but that's still under facilities with Cherokee Nation.
And you probably wouldn't know if he's a full-time employee or,
I don't know what his status is.
I'll find out and see what it is. What about the trail system? Is it kind of on hold for now? Or?
It is. We did some development, but yes, want to do kind of the master plan still.
And what's the timeline on getting the Sling Courthouse renovated? And is there any type of a timeline on that? And I say that because we've been trying to do something out there for 15, 20 years. and
Yeah.
haven't got it done.
I feel like we're closer, and we presented hard bids to our board during the last meeting, and we're asked to, before we were finalized that, to get the caretaker home established. So that's what we'll be going back to them this month with, and I'm hopeful that we would get some funding approved to go ahead and start the interior renovation along with a caretaker house out there, so those could be done in parallel.
Yeah, because I'm concerned about it and sitting out there, and
Yes.
so far nothing has happened to it. But I just hate for the day to think about the time that it could happen. Sitting out there by itself, and we certainly need to move that along. I was hoping that we could do it faster than what we're doing. And I want to comment a little bit about what Councilor Warner was talking about a while ago. Now, it's okay to employ people, but I don't think we need to overemploy people. And what I mean about that is, we had a ranch up in Kenwood, had one full-time caretaker up there. And we hired about 5 or 6 other people to help him, and it didn't make any money off it. And they had poultry operation and cattle operations. Kind of like they were talking about the Sequoia Courthouse, or the Sequoia cabins down there. It looked to me like you wouldn't need all the full-time employees. Summertime is when you have to mow in the grass and stuff like that, so I don't know, sometimes it seems like we overstaff what we've got. And we don't really need it because we're not using people as we need them. Like summertime is when you need people to mow and keep up the grass and stuff like that. Wintertime, there's not a whole lot of work to be done down there. So, I don't know, it's just my thoughts, and that just comes from me as looking at how things should work. I know the farm operations up there, we had so many people working up there that we didn't have a profit. And I know the poultry industry back then was making a profit, but we didn't have a profit now. Cattle eat it, and that's where we sold all the cattle, so we just had too many employees up there. But anyway, that's just kind of my rant for today. But anyway, thank you for looking at the Sling Courthouse. I just wish the sooner the better, but
Yes,
I understand.
I feel like we're closer.
Thank you.
Councilor DeChambeau.
Molly, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for getting back with me so quickly on that issue with the Sling Courthouse, and I emailed you the other day.
Yes.
There's been a little bit of vandalism there, as you know. But it sounds like, if there's gonna be a renovation and caretaker, people have been contacting me about, what we could do to maybe cut down on some of the things that happen out there, and a caretaker, I think, would be
Absolutely.
a presence there would be the first good step to do that. But things sound good. I hope I hope it does get done in a timely manner. But I appreciate you getting back with me so quick and forwarding my email to who they needed to be forwarded to. I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Final comment.
Yes.
Sequoia's cabin.
Yes.
When we had our Sequoia day there, and of course, I'd like to thank EO and Councilor Warner for being there helping out. We did have 2 employees at one time, and I knew those people. One was from back home, but it looked nice. The renovation you guys have implemented there, really nice. The restrooms were clean, and God, I bet we had 400 or 500 people there
Yes.
today, in and out. And you guys have done a good job. And,
Thank you.
I don't know how many people, we used to have 2 full-time people there, now we've got 2.5, I think.
3,
You guys
yeah.
have done a good job with it.
Thank you.
It looks nice.
Thank you.
I overlooked Councilor Hatfield. She had a question.
That's fine. I love the Peace Pavilion. I think it's one of our most beautiful projects. Again, I think Harley addressed the courthouse. It seems like we've had ongoing projects, and hopefully we can complete those, and then we can get Sequoia's place, home, in the right order. I think we've talked about this before about promotion. You're the tourism, that aspect of it. I still think we're very weak in that area as far as promoting. And I know that we have so many we have museums, and I'm still a little bit, I'm not concerned. I wish we could do a little bit more in promoting Cherokee Nation. We have some we're near Interstate 40, we're 44. I mean, and so I would hope that maybe in the future we could, and I know I live in western Oklahoma. I see the Chickasaws every day of my life, promoting. I wish we could make a beautiful video or something. I mean, if nothing, just showing the beauty of these.
Yes, it's not for a lack of desire.
And I know it's expensive, but I would hope that in the future, maybe we could, I don't know if it's more of a promotion or just letting the world know how wonderful Cherokee Nation is. Thank you, Molly. Thank you for your good work. Thank you. Jim?
Yes, Counselor Shaw?
Yes, Molly. Just recently, I think we acquired 3 new national treasures. Could you please tell us who they are and what their field of expertise is?
I know who they are.
Okay.
Yeah, let me make sure I say the names right. Troy,
Troy Jackson.
yes, Troy Jackson for sculpting. I believe that's his area of expertise. And there was a language person, and you probably know who that is. It's Shade, Loretta Shade. Loretta Shade for language.
Lisa
And
Rutherford.
then Lisa Rutherford for pottery.
And a fourth has been added is Miss Annie Wildcat.
Wildcat.
Yes.
That's Tommy's mother.
And we're going to be getting the information to you that you asked. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Yes, Brittany.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think me and Harley's on the same page, like the summertime. I think the day workers, come in there and help mow. And I think we're on the same page on that, Harley. But on the National Treasures, those are some sweet people, those 4 that you named, sweet people. My question is, and I'm gonna support all of those people fully, but isn't there some legislation that says we can only do 3? Well, we need to change that before we do that.
Well, in the bylaws, which are established by the committee, and actually they began with the chief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the chief has the final say on those types of things. And if we just recently changed the bylaws, and I'm not sure that that's something that we need to change as far as making
Might just
more.
look at it, like I said, I'm fully supporting those 4 sweet people, but we might need to make sure that we're following that legislation and go ahead and maybe say that we can add 4 or however many we want to. Might take a closer look
I
at
can
it.
tell you this, because I'm on the advisory committee as an advisor, that when they get proposed nominations, someone nominates someone to be a national treasure, there is a very stringent guideline on how they jury those people in. So they may receive 20 proposals from artists that they've been nominated, but if they don't follow all the rules and do everything that's asked for, if they leave one thing out, it gets tossed aside. A lot of those things, there are people probably that are nominated that we all would think, hey, they'd be a great one, but if it's not, if the paperwork's not done right or something to that effect,
You gotta have that policy. You
they're
gotta
not
have that
qualified. I mean, they miss it on this boat, but they can apply the next year. And the way that they grade the winners is a very fair way. They
Yeah,
assign points. Okay.
I understand,
Okay.
and I fully support the choices. I was thinking there was something in law that said we could only do 3 at a time, and I would be in support of changing that to get these 4 in, but
What do you mean, another 4?
not another 4. I think the law says 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, Molly,
And,
did you address that?
Yeah,
already,
and
Chief?
Counselor Kern, I will research that. I don't think the law limits 3, and I do know that the chief has final approval. So I'll just research the law and the bylaws and give back to you on that.
Also, I believe, and this is just a personal opinion, because I know as a national treasure, you've got a big obligation to carry forward the art and continue sharing that. And if we make too large a group every year, I believe it would diminish the honor of receiving the National Treasure
I
Award.
agree, and I think that's the 3 thing, the 3. I think that's why we need to look at that, because I'm in support of all 4. I think that there's some legislation, I think I've got it somewhere, that says 3. And if we're gonna add 4, we probably need to look at that to,
Also, but let me just say this, and Molly, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is, the chief has prerogative to appoint someone, in
Okay.
this case, like Annie Wildcat, when that's just an honor.
you betcha, and I'm
So,
fully supportive of that.
Sometimes we do have 4, but usually the 4th one is someone that the chief has added.
You bet.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else have any more? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Counselor Austin.
Speaking of the Saline Courthouse, I have requested to have our next committee meeting at the Saline Courthouse, which would be September, I think, right? If it's possible.
It would be September.
If it's possible, if technology, if we can do the technology we have to out there, everybody needs to see this place, and everybody needs to actually understand the spiritual feeling you get on those grounds, and the importance of us taking care of this property, and also to see it before they start working on it, so that we can see the before and after, so that we can understand the value that they're bringing to this property.
We talked about that before, and it seems like the last time that we discussed that it was brought to my attention that the grounds and the restrooms and things aren't yet, they're not ready to have a group of people meet out there. The facility's just not quite ready to be utilized in a meeting setting. I agree that it would be a great place to have it, but we want to make sure that, you got clean bathrooms to use when you're there, and you can have the technology, and I'm not sure where we stand on that, but I think we're quite a ways from that, right, Molly?
Yeah, there are no facilities.
Yeah. Maybe we could set up a tour
Mhm, we could do
probably
that.
Tour it.
and
but
not
as-
do the meeting
Yeah,
there
but
yet.
official meeting, probably not yet.
Okay, we can think about that. Would that be something that you think would help? Is just a
Well, I
tour?
think everybody needs to see it, and I know that there's people in this room that's never visited.
I, for one, have not.
Who hasn't seen it?
What if we consider during the tour before that October meeting that we usually have at Bull Hollow? 'Cause it's kind
Oh,
of the
uh-huh.
same.
That's a good idea. Yeah, we can consider that. Are there any other questions from tribal council? Okay, I just wanted to say, Molly, that you guys did an excellent job of putting on our National Treasure Student Art Show last Saturday. And I was thrilled with the interest and the attendance. And all the students were, I think, very proud of what they've done, and the mentors were especially proud. And the fact that Jane Osti asked that we have each one speak about it, their experiences, and what it meant to them to teach and to mentor and share. It was very impressive, and the chief was impressed, and Secretary of State was there.
Excellent.
EO was there. We had several counselors that came. It was just a great event, so I look forward to seeing that grow, and then next year having it bigger.
Yeah,
So
that
thank
was
you.
our first attempt at a student show. And again, my appreciation goes to staff who really works to make that happen in the committee, because that was really their show.
Right.
So thank you for those who attended. Yeah, I think it will grow from here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good report. All right, next we have from our language program, Mr. Roy Boney and Anna Sixfield. Good morning.
Good morning. You and a guide.
Yep. Yeah.
I have Anna Sixkiller with me this morning to talk about the Cherokee Language Consortium, which met June 13th through the 15th, and I'll let her start.
Okay. Consortium group met in North Carolina on June 13th through the 15th, and we done some words the first time, and I have all the words that we did. If any of you want to look at them, I have them right here.
We have them
We
in
have
our,
them.
we have them in our
You
report.
have 'em?
Yeah,
Good.
This is good.
very impressive.
We started out with the salamanders, and sometimes they have their words picked out on some of their lessons when we get there, and then plus the katua also goes too. And then and we took some words too, and we did good because we did all of ours. No, wait, I take it back. We didn't do all of the Tahlequah, but we did all of theirs. But anyway, we had a good meeting, and Hartwell, I don't know if you guys know Dr. Hartwell. He's always with us. He's been with us since day one. And I forgot, let's see, I think we did about 38 words altogether, the salamander and then just regular words. We took the words, and the words are like cork, crock, ceramic, wisdom teeth, colorblind, cross-eyed things. Those were the words that we didn't have yet. So, and we probably will have more. And those are the words that we've been adding, we will add on to our book. And the book will be, we can't make just a regular book because we have to add on words every 3 months. So, but I enjoy doing this, and we all enjoy doing this. The last trip there, one of our members was sick, and before we got home, she had passed on. So that's my report for the consortium group.
Thank you. I was especially happy to see pottery paddle and potter, finger weaving. I mean, this is really cool. Well, thank you for your efforts. We'll go ahead and take questions for Anna, and then we'll move to Roy's report.
I have one question. On these words, that's really good the way you guys are doing this, because I've seen you go through and it's a democratic way. You just put a word up there and you guys sit around and finally you come up with, everybody has to agree on it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a majority vote. I like it.
Yes,
Now, refresh my memory, how do you say sovereignty?
sovereignty. I have to look it up.
Is it unafsunuktoti? Like self-govern? Is that the definition?
Öskadageli,
Okay.
unasunukto, wasalitsvukto.
I asked Rob Darty that, and he ended up saying golf ball, which was completely off the song. So I said, well, I better ask Anna and Roy. So anyway, well done.
Counselor Hatfield, did you have a question?
The speaker addressed what
Oh,
how do you determine how to, like, you've got, these words seem real foreign when you think about the language, our language. And he addressed how you came up with the words. I think that would be very difficult. I commend you.
It is.
No.
Some things we can't come to agreement, we have to table it. And we have to think about it for the next 3 months. And then somebody will get up and talk about it, and we'll go from there.
So how do we incorporate like these, you just have to, I guess, be in a conversation where you're talking about, I don't know, we had meteors and a lot of science terms, but I guess that's the only way to learn, right? It's just
Yes.
be in conversation with that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? For Anna, okay, Roy, if you'd like to go ahead with your
Yeah.
part of the report. Thank you, Anna.
Well, the next consortium meeting is scheduled for September 5th through 7th, and if anyone wants to come view, it's open, if you want to come visit and watch the process. It's going to be held here in Tahlequah. We don't have a building yet set, but this 5th through 7th of September, the Eastern Band will be coming out here.
That's right after Health Day.
Yeah.
A few other things in addition to the report. On June 27th, a film crew from OETA came out to Tahlequah and filmed several language staff. They're doing a documentary about the life of Sequoia. Anna was one of the people they interviewed. They interviewed some people up at the immersion school. I'm not sure when it'll air, but it's going to be a half-hour show on OETA and PBS. We're going to be hosting our second annual Ignite Teacher Training Conference. That's going to be July 23rd to 26th at Cherokee Heritage Elementary School here in Tahlequah. The registration is still open. It closes July 15th. We also hosted a visitor from an engineer from Google on June 13th. We've worked with them for several years now. He came to visit Cherokee Nation. We met with the Cherokee Master Apprentice Program and the Cherokee Heritage Center. So we're looking to expand our partnership with Google, and that includes doing some adding Cherokee language support to their Google Maps, so you could see the maps actually in Cherokee language, and doing some digitization of our Cherokee language archives at the Heritage Center, so we could get some scans of our language content there. So besides that, just open up questions now.
Anyone have questions? Counselor Shaw?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. Roy did an outstanding job at the CCO conference talking about Cherokee code talkers. And I was so surprised to learn that out of our Cherokee code talkers, only one can be identified. And there is actual visible proof and documentation as to his existence. Regrettably, he does not have a tombstone. There is only, Roy, would you elaborate on what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of Cherokee code talkers, but only one that we can identify by name through the historical record, and that's George Adair. He served in World War I, and his grave is in Nowata, and his tombstone just says, it says he was a cook in the Army or something like that. It doesn't actually say anything about his service as a code talker. So it would be interesting if we could somehow honor him, since he is the only one that's currently identified. There obviously were more because he was talking to somebody out there, but the historical record doesn't have any documentation yet that anyone's found. There's still a lot of research going on this topic, but at the moment he is the only one that we have a name for in the historical record.
Now, if I understood it correctly, he was identified as a cook because it was classified, and he couldn't be identified as a code talker. And I think it would be really a lovely gesture on our part to recognize him with a marker that said he was a code talker. I mean, what he did for our tribe, our country, it deserves such respect. And I really would like to see, I don't know what the proper protocol would be to do this, but I think it would be awesome if we could provide a tombstone with the correct marking. He was more than a cook.
Is there family around here still here? His family? Anybody you can talk to see if we could follow the protocol to get him recognized?
I personally don't know, but when I did the talk at the CCO conference, several people came up to me afterward and said that they might know someone who is his family still, and they were going to look into that, but I honestly don't know who they are now.
Go ahead.
There's some Adairs in Adair County, and I know there's some, actually I'm related to them, so, but my aunt, my great aunt, her husband was an Adair, and I've heard of stories about that, but I really, I'm glad she brought that to light, because I want to research that a little bit. And my grandmother, she was from the Nowata area, but she was a bunch. She wasn't an Adair, but we have Adairs in our family, so I'll check around and ask around. I don't know if the younger generation would have that information, but anyway, if you're interested.
Yeah, because we do have the actual documentation. If we need to prove this, I have all that, so we can actually move forward with something if we need to.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. I think if we could find a family member that could, give us approval to do that, I think it'd be a great thing to have a marker. And once we can get to that point of where we have approval from the family, then we'll find out who and what, expense, who does the actual commemoration. But I think it's a great idea. Thank you. Anyone else? Is that it, Roy?
Yeah.
Thank you all. Very good report. See you next time. All right. Oh, yay, we get to hear from Rob Doherty again.
Again.
Okay, so how do you say sovereignty? Cherokee?
Squash, stan just då. Oh, that's golf ball.
Sounds good to me.
Unas, unuk, that's what.
That's
yeah,
what it was.
Yeah, self-governing or self-deciding, so. Just like last evening's report, because of our conference is real short, but there's a couple of things I want to highlight, like this, again, this Thursday night for cultural presentation, we're going to be in Chelsea at the Civic Center in Chelsea, and Richard Fields, one of our national treasures, is going to be doing bow making and so forth. And also, too, mark your attention, because a couple of you have called me, and the Master Apprenticeship Language Program is taking applications right now. And I think it runs through for another month and a half, I think, or maybe a little more than that. So I know you, some of y'all have been asking your community meetings, it's a 2-year commitment from whomever is going to apply, and they need to understand that. It's a 2-year commitment for that. They can contact Howard Payton or Ryan Mackey, and I have their phone numbers here because sometimes they call us and I have to refer or forward the call to them if anybody would desire that. Because
Why don't you have that email to Gail, like they're
I sure will.
just a little blurb about that, and we can all, she can send it to all.
Because there was a little blurb about it that came out. I sure will. I'll
What's
forward
the
that
age
on.
group for that?
I'm sorry?
Is there an age group? Is there an age?
It's supposed to be adult. So the age I'm assuming is, they seem pretty young in there, but I'm assuming it's 18 on up, I guess.
Okay.
So, and the idea is to incorporate that into the 2-year program, and they in turn go back to the communities and do that. So it's an adult program.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? You have your report. Again, because of the conference, and I want to thank everybody that was involved in helping out. It was a huge success. We thought it was a success, and we couldn't find those 2 bags, so we'll continue looking.
Before you leave, Councilor Shaw.
Rob, at approximately almost 500 people who attended the CCO conference, how many were at large?
I think 70, right at 70.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
70. And that was the biggest at-large turnout we've had, because a lot of those were self-pays. A lot of, double the size, almost triple the size of the ones that we helped get here, so.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, well done.
All right, and we are ready to hear from Dr. Troll. I'm sorry, yes, Councilor Buzzard?
Madam Chair, I forgot to ask Roy about the Cherokee language certification that they've been attending to in the state of Oklahoma, and I'd like to hear how that's coming along.
Roy, can you answer one more question about the,
I think that's really important if we're going to get more teachers
okay,
certified.
why
because
don't you ask
the
him?
test that's on there. Roy, I was going to ask you about the certification, where the teachers get certified. How's that coming along? Are we about to redo the test or get it redone?
We actually will be doing a review of the test either later this year or early next year. We had to put in a request to the state because the state actually does the administers the test itself, not us. So we do have that on their schedule, and they're going to set a time for us to actually start reviewing this test.
Okay.
And the test itself is kind of flawed. We had a fluent speaker take it recently. She couldn't pass it.
Well, that's what I've heard from people like that they could not pass the test because it was so difficult to do. So, okay. Well, I had a person from Grove actually asked about it, and I forgot to ask you all about it.
Yeah, we're going to update that. We're going to review it first. We got to go through the review committee for the state of Oklahoma, and then after we do that, we're going to have another committee actually make a new test. So.
Good.
Good.
Sounds good.
Roy, I'm glad you're looking at that. It's almost like a standardized achievement test.
Yeah.
When I looked at that, I went, who designed this test?
Yeah, it's.
And then I didn't want to point names, but I thought, well, that piece of paper is not going to determine whether I can teach or not. Because I've got my teacher certificate in Cherokee and from the state. But this test right here, Harley, was kind of irrelevant to everything I've ever learned.
I've heard people tell me about it.
It's a tough test. It's for non-Indians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm all for you redoing that test.
All right. Yeah, we're definitely working on that. So.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you, Roy.
Now, we'll bring up Dr. Charles Gord from the Historical Society, Cherokee Heritage Museum. He always has lots of interesting things going on. He can be-
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I've not been known to really cause trouble, but when you mentioned the test for Cherokee proficiency, when I started graduate school at OU, on a Ford Foundation fellowship, I was filling out the admissions forms, and it said, "Do you speak a foreign language?" And I put mark yes, and I wrote in English. So I had to take a test that I could speak enough Cherokee, so Agnes Cowan, who ran the bilingual ed program, gave me a little certificate that said I could speak as well as a 6-year-old. So, and then later, when I was head of the Indian Affairs Commission with the state, was when we passed the law changing it from foreign language to second language acquisition, which I kept saying, you know, the American Indian languages are alive and well and viable in the public schools in our areas. So anyway, I commend and salute all of the work that Roy and them are doing on the language preservation. There are so many things and issues that come up, and one of the things that at present I'm most proud of is that we're forming a partnership and a working relationship with the language department as we go about designing and figuring out the location for and the things that we need to put into the new archives facility, which is still in the almost completed planning stages, and I hope to be able to announce and provide that to you at the next meeting as to what we have, the size of the building, and what our capacities are going to be, because I'm convinced that as soon as we announce that we do have the proper facilities for the preservation and maintenance and long-term storage of items, we're going to have a whole lot of additional things donated, which needs to happen. So I'm really excited about that. I've sent a report of the major activities of the Heritage Center so far this year. We've had people from 45 of the 50 states, and I heard a week or so ago that we've already passed all 50 states. So that's, you know, before the year is half out. We've already done that, and we're over halfway through our foreign country attendees, which is still amazing to me since we don't advertise in foreign countries. That's got to be a measure that working together with and our partnerships, and it's expanding and working with Molly and with Travis on the new museums and the cultural tourism to make that partnership even stronger, because as I've told the people at Rob's CCO conference, some people accuse me of verging on being a racist about being proud to be a Cherokee. I said, well, if nothing else, I'm a cultural elitist, and I believe that our culture is the best there is, and if someone else can prove to me that theirs is better, we'll talk about it. But so until such a time as that happens, we finished the 5 Tribes Genealogy Conference, which was incredibly well received. The collective identity and all of the 5 tribes, which we use the Dawes Roll as our base for proving citizenship. We're now in the process of doing an evaluation of that one to plan next year's conference, and it will be hosted by the Cherokee Nation this year. The Chickasaws, since they already had the facilities, already had the room, etc., were very gracious in providing their facilities for that. So we will be the host for it for next year, and we're going to rotate it among the 5 tribes as time progresses and goes on. But genealogy is now the #1 spectator sport or activity support in the United States, and our genealogy department is incredibly busy taking applications and doing genealogical research and providing workshops. We have 2 scheduled and coming up over into Arkansas again, and we're taking requests for in Cherokee communities, wherever they may be, as to what types of genealogical research, what can we do to be better fit and better able to provide people with the research they need on their families. And as you all are well aware, we just recently put up and have the Pocahontas Indian Women's Pocahontas Club. What's that town, sir? Claremore, is that what? It was an incredible idea. Councilman Austin, I kind of went on a tour in Claremore. I met this lady named Ollie, and they did not tell me it was mother and daughter. I found this out later, so it's a good thing I was careful in what I said to each about the other.
I'm going to correct you. It's mother and son.
Oh,
You said mother and
mother and
daughter.
daughter. Oh,
Just for the record.
just for the record. That exhibit is very well received, and it's really incredible. I hope everybody takes the time to go and look at that, because these are the kinds of things that have been sustained and retained by our people through time, and this one was prior to statehood, during that time in which the Cherokee Nation government did not exist. Well, it existed, but it wasn't recognized. But these people retained and maintained that identity and that posture and that drive and that resilience, which is very reflective of our people overall. So I hope everybody goes and takes a look at it, because, well, we're in the process and we want to help them to come up with ways for the preservation of the items and materials that they recovered in the process of putting that together. We have Family Fun Days coming up July the 21st. This is a new activity we're going to do to try to encourage more people to come out and be an active participant in all of the different kinds of things. And we're adding a major 3D archery project. The archery field over here, the stuff that he does over there, Brian does, is incredibly, and it's amazing. So we're forming a lot stronger partnership with what he's doing. I would like to, at this point, encourage everybody to start thinking about, we're getting ready, as the whole of the nation is, for the Cherokee holiday. The Cherokee Homecoming Art Show and Sale is coming up. Artists that you know, make sure they're aware we have the announcement out, and the eligibility requirements and criteria and how to get work in it. I hope to make that, again, as strong and as viable of an art show, but especially we need to start recruiting more buyers into this, because it's one thing to produce the art, it's quite another to have a market or have people come here who will purchase the items that our artists create. In October, we have our annual fundraising event, the gala, which will again be at the Cherokee Hard Rock. The Contemporary Achievement Award this year will be Dr. Charles Graham up at Hastings. The Tradition Bearer is Bill Glass Jr. The Stalwart Award is the Cherokee Phoenix newspaper. They are incredible in attending and providing all of the public and press releases and stories about things that go on at the Heritage Center. And our Warrior Award this year will be John Payton, who I'm sure everybody knows, who's been in the security here at Cherokee Nation for years. And he's done an incredible service in the military. He and I have talked about a lot of stories, about a lot of which, you know, at his request are not going to be, but he is definitely one that is well deserving of that award. We have approved a VISTA volunteer who will start in September that will be working in the collections and the archives department, because as we think about and plan for the new archives facility, we have to get our stuff ready. We're cataloging, we're identifying those items which need preservation work in the most emergency manner now so that we can get them to them, but also to plan the transfer process. What moves when and what are we going to have to do for packaging. We've met twice again with the folks from Crystal Bridges for an internship program, both for artists and for those interested in going into museum-related work. And I want to finish with a project that Rob Daugherty provided me an opportunity to discuss at the CCO conference with all of the people that were in attendance about our community arts ideas and to promote a stronger relationship between the Heritage Center and all of the Cherokee communities with which Rob's group works. And we have that large atrium area, so my idea is if we can identify, working both through the National Treasures and others, the artists that want to learn and can come up with the production and the quality of work, then we need to be in a position to where their communities can set up displays, because we have the ancient village and Adams Corner and all of that, which is what Cherokees did in the past. I want now to also provide to the world and to those who come and visit what Cherokees are doing in the present. So that's an identification of our communities. And then help with the idea for marketing for the traditional arts that people do, because that's the incentive to learn it. And the other area of the arts that I think would be fun to do while we're doing the traditional arts is folk art. Art, people who take stuff out of the yard and other places and put it together and make something new and different, just something that's creative. So we're trying things that are new and different, and I hope that in the very near future we'll develop a stronger relationship with the cultural outreach with Molly's group, and that way we can coordinate, because I'm convinced that if we market this right and place it in the right positions in Europe and Asia, and I have contacts especially in Asia, which will help, is that we can greatly increase the level of tourism, not just in marketing, but people who come here, because people from those parts of the world vacation differently than Americans do. They don't just go for a weekend or a few days. They go for 2 or 3 weeks or a month at a time. So that's we have enough to keep people moving and going for a month at a time. So I look forward to, a stronger relationship and expanded discussions on that. So I'll hush. Any questions?
Yeah, do we have any questions? Any trouble, counselors? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
a very good report. All right, that's all. It concludes our reports. We have no old business, no new business, and the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, September 27th. Does anyone else have any announcements? All right, motion to adjourn. Second. All approved, 1:30.